There's a specific kind of exhaustion that no amount of sleep fixes. It's the tiredness that comes from performing a version of yourself all day long, every day, for people who never asked for the performance in the first place. You know the feeling. You've been carrying it so long, you forgot it wasn't yours. Most people think approval seeking is a minor personality flaw, a little insecurity, something you grow out of. But what if the need for approval isn't a weakness at all, but a silent operating system running underneath every decision you make, every word you choose, every room you walk into? What if it's not a quirk but a cage? And what if the reason you can't seem to access the power you know is inside you is because this one pattern is bleeding it out of you faster than you can generate it? That's what this video is about, not confidence tricks. Not fake dash it, dash till dash you dash make dash it nonsense. The actual mechanism by which approval seeking dismantles your personal authority from the inside, and the precise shift that stops it. Stay here. This one's going to cost you some comfort, but it's going to hand you something back that's worth more than comfort ever was. Here's the story you've been told. You've been told that wanting approval is natural, that it's human, that caring what others think is a sign of empathy, of social intelligence, of being a good person. And on the surface, that's not entirely wrong. Humans are social creatures. We evolved in tribes. Rejection once meant death. So the brain learned to monitor the group, read faces, adjust behavior, and keep the tribe happy. That much is biology. But here's where the story breaks. The modern version of approval seeking has almost nothing to do with survival. It's not keeping you alive, it's keeping you small. The belief that wanting people to like you is harmless or even virtuous is the single most effective lie your ego has ever sold you, because it disguises submission as kindness, it disguises fear as politeness, and it disguises the total surrender of your identity as being a team player. The wrong belief isn't that approval feels good. It does. The wrong belief is that pursuing it is free, that there's no cost, that you can hand over pieces of your authentic self in exchange for a nod, a smile, a like, a promotion, and somehow walk away whole. You can't. Every time you adjust who you are to make someone else comfortable, you're not building a relationship. You're paying a tax, and the currency is your power. So let's talk about what's actually happening when you seek approval, because it's far more mechanical than people realize. It's not an emotion, it's a transaction. And like all transactions, it has a structure. The first thing to understand is that approval seeking is not about the other person. It never was. When you laugh at a joke that isn't funny, when you agree with an opinion you don't hold, when you soften your voice or shrink your posture or swallow the thing you actually wanted to say, you're not doing it for them. You're doing it to manage an internal sensation. Specifically, you're doing it to avoid the micro pain of potential disapproval, the flinch, that tiny electric charge in your chest when you think someone might not like what you just said. The whole performance, every single adjustment, is a pain avoidance ritual. And the moment you see it that way, the illusion collapses. Think about the last time you were in a meeting and you had a thought, a real thought, one that cut against the grain of what everyone else was saying. You felt it rise. And then you felt the second thing, the scan. Your brain ran a simulation in milliseconds. What will they think? Will I look stupid? Will I seem aggressive? Will they pull away from me? And in that half-second window, most people kill the thought. They smile instead. They nod. They say something safe. And the room moves on, never knowing that the most valuable thing anyone could have said just died on the floor because one person couldn't tolerate the possibility of a raised eyebrow. That's not social intelligence. That's a hostage negotiation with your own fear. And the hostage is your identity. Robert Greene wrote in the 48 Laws of Power that the need for approval is a leash disguised as a bond. He observed that throughout history, the people who accumulated real influence, not popularity but actual power, were the ones who learned to tolerate disapproval the way a surgeon tolerates blood. Not because they didn't see it, but because they understood that flinching in the middle of the operation kills the patient. Greene's insight wasn't that powerful people don't care about others. It's that they refuse to let the fear of someone else's reaction become the steering wheel of their own life. The moment you hand that wheel over, you're no longer driving, you're being driven. And the destination is always the same. A life that looks acceptable from the outside and feels hollow from the inside. Here's where it gets darker and more honest. Approval seeking doesn't just cost you power in isolated moments. It compounds. Every time you choose a safe response over the true one, you're training your nervous system. You're reinforcing a circuit. The circuit says, authenticity is dangerous. Performance is safe, and the more you run that circuit, the stronger it gets. After years, decades of this, something terrifying happens. You lose access to the authentic response altogether. You don't even know what you actually think anymore. You've been performing so long that the mask has fused to the face. And the exhaustion you feel, that bone-deep tiredness that sleep doesn't fix, isn't from working too hard. It's from the energy it takes to maintain a self that isn't yours. Think about what this looks like in practice. You're at dinner with friends. Someone says something you fundamentally disagree with. Not something offensive, just something wrong. And instead of saying what you think, you do the calculation. You weigh the cost of honesty against the reward of harmony. And harmony wins. It always wins. Not because harmony is better, but because your nervous system has been conditioned to treat friction as a threat. So you smile, you nod, you change the subject, and you drive home feeling that specific flavor of emptiness that you can't quite name, but that follows you into every room you've ever been in. Now multiply that by every interaction, every day for years, every text you rewrote to sound less direct, every opinion you softened, every time you said "I don't mind" when you did mind, every time you let someone else choose because choosing meant risking judgment. Each one of those moments taken alone seems trivial, but stacked together they form a prison. And the worst part is you built it yourself, brick by brick, smile by smile. There's a secondary mechanism that most people never see, and it's the one that does the most damage. When you seek approval consistently, you don't just lose your own power. You train the people around you to devalue you. This is counterintuitive, because the whole point of seeking approval is to be valued. But human psychology doesn't work that way. People don't respect what's freely given. They respect what has boundaries. When you agree with everything, laugh at everything, accommodate everything, you're not signaling that you're easy to be around. You're signaling that your agreement means nothing, because it's automatic. It's not earned. It's not selective. It's just the default setting of someone who's afraid to say no. And so the very people whose approval you're chasing start to take you for granted. Not because they're cruel, but because you've removed every reason for them to take you seriously. You've become predictable, frictionless, and in the economy of human respect, frictionless means forgettable. This is the trap. You seek approval to feel valued, but the seeking itself destroys the value. You become less respected the harder you try to be liked, and the less respected you feel the harder you try. It's a feedback loop with no floor. It just keeps going down. Now here's where you need to look at your own life, because this mechanism doesn't announce itself. It hides. It hides behind good manners, behind being the reliable one, behind being low maintenance, behind being the person who never makes things difficult. There are two traps most people fall into, and you're probably in one of them right now. The first trap is the chameleon. This is the person who becomes whoever the room needs them to be. With ambitious friends, they're ambitious. With laid-back people, they're chill. With their boss, they're eager. With their partner, they're accommodating. They think this is adaptability. It's not. It's erasure. The chameleon has no center. They've optimized so completely for external approval that they've lost the internal signal. Ask them what they actually want, not what they think they should want, and watch the panic behind their eyes. They don't know. They haven't known for years. The second trap is the performer. This person doesn't change who they are. They amplify a version of themselves that gets the most approval. The funny one, the smart one, the tough one, the one who always has it together. They've found a persona that works, and they ride it relentlessly. But the performer is just as trapped as the chameleon because the persona isn't them. It's a highlight reel, and the gap between the highlight reel and the real person grows wider every year. The performer is exhausted not from doing too much, but from never being allowed to just be. Both traps feel like coping. Both feel like strategy, but both function as avoidance. The chameleon avoids rejection by never presenting a fixed target. The performer avoids vulnerability by never presenting the real one. And neither of them ever gets what they actually need, which isn't approval at all. It's the experience of being known, actually known, and accepted anyway. The path between these traps is narrow. It doesn't require you to become abrasive. It doesn't require you to stop caring about people. It requires one thing: the willingness to be seen accurately and to survive the response. That's it. That's the whole game. So here's the move. It's small, it's specific, and you can start it tonight. The next time you're in a conversation, any conversation, and you feel the impulse to agree with something you don't actually agree with, don't. Don't argue. Don't make a scene. Just don't agree. Say what you actually think. Say it plainly. Say it once. And then let the silence do what silence does. You'll feel the flinch, that micro-charge in your chest. That's your nervous system firing the old circuit, the one that says danger, disapproval, retreat. Don't retreat. Stay in it. Let the flinch happen. Let the other person react however they react. And notice something. You survived. The room didn't collapse. The relationship didn't end. The world kept turning. And for the first time in maybe a very long time, you feel something unfamiliar. Not comfort. Not safety. Something better. Solidity. The feeling of standing on ground that's actually yours. Do this once and it's a moment. Do it twice and it's a pattern. Do it for a month and something shifts at the foundation. Your nervous system starts to rewrite the circuit. It starts to learn that authenticity isn't the threat. The performance was the threat. The performance was the thing draining you. The performance was the thing keeping everyone at arm's length, while you wondered why you felt so alone in crowded rooms. You weren't alone because people didn't like you. You were alone because the person they liked wasn't you. Every time you say what you actually think, you're not just being honest. You're reclaiming territory. You're telling your own brain that you can handle the cost of being real. And the brain listens. It always listens. Not to what you believe, but to what you do. So do this. Do it small. Do it tonight. And do it again tomorrow. This video wasn't really about approval seeking. Not at the core. It was about a question most people never ask themselves because the answer terrifies them. The question is this: if you removed every behavior you perform for the benefit of someone else's comfort, who would be left standing? Most people can't answer that, not because nobody's there, but because they've never given that person permission to exist. Give them permission, not tomorrow, not when you're ready. You'll never feel ready. That's the final lie. The readiness is a feeling you've been waiting for that only comes after you move, never before. The person you've been protecting the world from is the only one who is ever going to set you free.